think of his stuff again. Put him on. Hey, what are you doing?
Maximum Drive!
That can't be good. Greetings, one and everyone, to this week's Geek Informant. I am your host, Sam, the Geek Informant, and I don't feel so good. But regardless, I'm not going to let that stop me from giving you guys all the things you need to know, including news, movie reviews, and your schedules. And after that, if you still don't know what to do, we'll tell you how to spend your week with our picks. You guys ready? I'm not. But I'm going to start anyway. Let's go! Number 1! And our first topic for the news this week will have to be the amazing Spider-Man trailer. Last week we talked about how some photos got revealed. Well, now we've got a teaser trailer. Probably to get ready for Comic-Con. It was announced that it'd be in front of Captain America, but I assume since the preview night was Wednesday, it only seemed fit that the trailer would come out on a Wednesday. So that way they can play it at the Marvel booth or wherever they had it. And as you gather, we're not at Comic-Con. We weep. We want to be there. Number 2! The second topic that we have on the news today would have to be Captain Planet. Yes, you heard me right. Captain Planet is also now finally getting his chance at a live-action film, all thanks to Cartoon Network. Yeah! This isn't their first attempt. They've actually done a couple TV movies that they've done, both of which are actually for Ben 10. I actually kind of like Ben 10. The movies, though, they're not all that great. And since I'm not a big Captain Planet fan, I thought it was kind of corny and hoaxy even for back then, I'm not too thrilled to see what they're going to be able to do with this. So, time shall only tell how this will turn out. Number 3! And finally, our last bit of news is actually with some Superman news. For those of you who've been following along the interwebs, you shall know that there's a new Superman movie on the horizon known as The Man of Steel, directed by none other than 300 and Watchmen's director, Zack Snyder. I'm kind of scared about this movie because I don't know what to expect. We've been kind of burned by Superman movies before, so it's only natural that I should be cautious. However, it has been announced at Comic-Con that they're actually moving the release date from December 2012 to June of 2013. That's a big push, and I know they did something very similar to that with Harry Potter and Star Trek, but that was done because we knew there was going to be no movies available for 2009. So they pushed these movies back so they can guarantee some kind of money for that year. We have no idea what's coming out for 2013 yet, and so having this movie pushed could really only mean technical difficulties, which is never a good sign. So let us know what you think about that down below. And that brings it to a close with news this week. Now on to our movie review. I'm going to join my lovely girlfriend Marissa as we review this week's very patriotic film of Captain America. Let us go! Greetings all, and welcome to yet another Movie Informant. I am Sam.
And I'm Marissa.
And this week we had a very patriotic weekend.
We did.
What was on the agenda today?
We saw Captain America, the First Avenger, right? Is that what they're calling it?
Yes, First Avenger. Or as overseas, it's just First Avenger. I really liked this movie.
I actually, surprisingly enough, I know I always kind of bust on on things a lot. I actually really, really enjoyed this. It was a lot of fun. I really don't have much bad to say about it at all.
So going right into it, the story is pretty much about a young man known as Steve Rogers, who is, he's tiny.
Very, very, actually kind of like sickly looking.
Yeah, he's like 5 foot flat and is as skinny as me. And I remember there was a scene where he was laying down, and I'm like watching his body. I'm like, God, that looks like me.
He can't weigh more than 90 pounds.
Yeah, close to it.
Yeah.
And pretty much what he is, he's very patriotic. He just wants nothing more than to fight for his country. And
I mean, he understands that he's tiny, but he says,
what
right do I have to stay here when everybody else is dying?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, just because I'm small doesn't change the fact that I want to fight for my country.
Exactly, yeah.
So what ends up happening is Stanley Tucci's character plays a scientist who gives him a chance to be a part of this program called the Super Soldier Program, which is looking for the perfect candidate to be the first test run for something that is known as the Super Soldier. Steve Rogers gets picked, and he gets the serum and becomes Captain America.
Yes.
And that's when we start going into the plot of Hydra, run by the Red Skull, played by Hugo Weaving, and we'll get to him in a little bit. But so Red Skull's looking to pretty much destroy everything.
Yeah, he really doesn't have anything else on the agenda but to just destroy.
And so Steve Rogers is he's trying to prove that more than just a propaganda piece, which is what he was being used for at the time.
He says he's done over 200 performances to try to get people to buy bonds.
Exactly, and there's a great line where he's saving some captives, and they go,
I've knocked out Hitler over 200 times.
Pretty much. I thought it was hysterical. But going into the movie itself, I really liked it. There were so many elements of this movie that I just felt worked. First off, I need to address, it's very campy. It is very, very campy. It gets dark it does get dark at points, but overall it's a very campy movie. But it works because this is a movie that takes place during the 40s, which is the golden age of not only comic books, but cinema too. So I feel like having that campiness really works for that time period and that tone they were going for this film.
Agreed. It was not what we're used to seeing in movies. It was extremely campy, but it worked so well you almost forgot, you know, and you just kind of got immersed into it, and it was fun.
Personally, I feel like it was one of the better Avengers movies that we've gotten.
I feel like that's probably my favorite out of all of them.
It's probably going to be my favorite too, and I think the only other contender would be the first Iron Man movie, and the reason why I think I'm leaning more towards this one is because there was more of a conflict in this one than there was in Iron Man. In Iron Man, it was just Tony Stark and his own personal issues and development, which really worked for that film. But this one, we had a villain. We very
serious villain too.
Yeah, and since we're on the topic of villain, let's talk about Hugo Weaving as Red Skull for a little bit.
I felt like he was absolutely fantastic. He has such a presence to him that he's just scary to look at. I mean, he's a really fabulous actor, and he didn't disappoint in this film. I thought he did a phenomenal job. The acting was always on